How much do you know about the differences in immigration and assimilation experiences of different ethnic groups over time? Aside from the remaining Native Americans, the United States is made up of entirely immigrants from other countries, yet we do not talk about their assimilation into the country as much as we should. This makes me ask the question, what different aspects and experiences of assimilation set apart different immigrant groups in different time periods, and how has the assimilation process changed? Most people believe that the current problems with assimilation are a complete result of racism. However, there has always been racism and discrimination against new groups of immigrants, and the definition of racism has not changed from when people first started immigrating to the United States in the 1400s. So now you might be wondering, what is racism exactly? Take a few moments to think of your own personal definition of racism that you have come to understand today from what you learned in school and through exposure to everyday life. If you associate the definition of racism primarily with discrimination based on skin color, you are slightly wrong. In fact, Oxford Dictionary defines racism as prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's own race is superior, which does not even mention the factor of differences in skin color. People need to understand that racism is not based on skin color alone. People discriminate against one another due to the fact that they are foreign from them, not solely based on appearance. Many do not know that immigrant groups from Europe who had white skin were still considered not white and were discriminated against and dehumanized for being foreign when they first immigrated to the United States. An article on Huffington Post entitled "Race Delusion: Lies That Divide Us" elaborates on the fact that groups such as the Irish faced racism for not being white, even though they are considered white today. According to Benz, the author of that article, there's a big difference between race and diversity. The article introduced the idea that immigrant groups who came to the United States and were categorized as non-whites faced discrimination in their early years here and then eventually assimilated and were accepted into the category of whiteness. This article relates to a journal entitled Socioeconomic Attainment in the Ellis Island Era, which discusses the immigrants that came over to Ellis Island, and it highlights the fact that this specific group of immigrants changed the perspective and attitude towards other immigrant groups who came after them throughout history. They helped pave a pathway for future immigrant groups. And against all odds, this massive flow of immigrants to Ellis Island was able to successfully assimilate into American culture and transition from a non-white category to white category among the people. This raises further questions about why these immigrants were able to assimilate against odds. And why is it much more difficult for immigrant groups today to assimilate as effectively as the groups before them? Especially because, according to Calvin Coolidge, we may have all come over on different ships, but we are in the same boat now. So to try and understand why all of this is the way it is, I examined a journal entitled Transformative Effects of Immigration Law: Immigrants' Personal and Social Metamorphosis Through Regularization. It is filled with first-hand stories and experiences of Mexican immigrants to try to compare the assimilation and immigration experiences among different ethnic groups. It talks about the many changes they have made to their daily lives, and that no matter how hard they try to assimilate successfully, it is contingent on the perspective of the residents of the United States who were there before them. And this relates to a journal entitled From Different to Similar, which discusses the fact that assimilation is a two-way street, and the success of assimilation of each immigrant depends on the way that they are received. It is important to take away from this that an immigrant could be working as hard as they can to assimilate and fit into the culture, but can be surrounded by people who are opposed to immigration, making it very difficult to make an adequate transition. The takeaway from all of this evidence is that the most important thing we can do to ease the assimilation process of new immigrant groups is to keep an open and welcoming mindset and educate ourselves on the struggles that these people face every day, and that all of their hard work and progression is contingent on whether or not they are accepted by the people of America.